All right, we're streaming on Facebook, checking in. What's up? Waiting on YouTube. Here we go. All right, this is 5 crazy easy biohacks for mountain bikers, especially for parents. I made this for you if you are a busy mountain biker, you want to get the most energy out of your rides. Let's dive right in and get started. Now, the first one is, let's talk about why this is important. The first one here is, if you feel sore, tired, just kind of like that, I can't get out to the trail and have my best ride ever, or if you are someone who you get done with your ride and you feel absolutely dead when you didn't really exert yourself fully, what I'm talking about here is, number one, a lack of minerals, okay? Lack of minerals. Now, if you like this stuff, if you're getting something out of this content, go ahead and shred that like button. Share this with a fellow rider. Make sure that we spread the love, okay? Because we're going to have some fun today. I'm going to share some things that are going to be really good for you. The number one thing I notice, and this is actually learned this from Tim Ferriss. A long time ago, I read this in one of his podcasts or something like that. So this is way back. Whenever we exercise, okay, if you're exercising, you are expending your magnesium, your potassium. You're using these things to perform the activities, okay? If you are just living, you're expending these things. Your body needs them to operate. The problem is that the level that we need our magnesium levels to be is right here on this black line, and quite often we just don't get enough inputs to reach this line. Okay. And the single best thing you can do is, I actually don't prefer supplements for magnesium because it can cause digestive issues and other stuff like that, is to take an Epsom salt bath. Okay. So the lack of minerals is solved with an Epsom salt bath. And, sorry, I'm just still getting used to my tech here. Just literally go to the CVS or whatever, Walgreens, wherever you shop, buy a whole big bag of this stuff. It looks like table salt. Put 2 big old cups of this into a warm bath and sit in it for 15 minutes. So 2 cups, 15 minutes. What you will notice is that you'll feel energized and you'll feel like your normal self even after a huge ride. I get my wife to do this. She goes out and teaches back-to-back fitness classes, and she's like, oh, I feel terrible. And eventually I was like, look, you're not tired. You just burn through all your minerals in your double workout sessions. So try this bath out, and she loves it. So it's wife approved. And here's the kind of the benefit to doing this as well, is when you engage and you do these Epsom salt baths, you can do them as much as you want. There's no downside to it because your body literally will not absorb more magnesium than it needs, is that you will have more energy to be a parent, to do things at work. It really does help. Now, again, watch this all the way through because I'm going to give you these in ascending order of importance. So this is actually the weakest one. I'm going to keep going here for a second. Hopefully this is good so far. If you guys are watching right now, I'm going to check my chat. Probably most of you are at work. That's okay. But yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, or if you're watching on YouTube, put it down here in the comments. That's cool. The second one, hack number 2, biohack number 2. If I can get my screen to go over. Bear with me here. Oh my gosh. I'm going to do it this way. Hack number 2 is, drum roll, ditch social media. Okay? You're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I've heard this 1,000 times before. Here's why. No one's probably ever told you this. How in the world does sitting there and doing the death scroll on social media for 20, 30 minutes, how in the world does that impact your mountain biking? Well, it does and it doesn't. I mean, if you do that once a day, you can probably still be a really good rider. Look, I'm not picking on social media. What I am going to pick on, though, is we have something called dopamine, okay? And your brain will find dopamine. It'll do it through food. It'll find dopamine through whatever. It'll give you, like exercise can give you dopamine. You can, so good or bad food, frankly, Good food, bad food. Both of these give you equal amounts of dopamine if you like it. Pay attention to this because if you're human and you're listening to this, you got dopamine and you need it. It's a human thing. No shame in needing dopamine, all right? The problem is that our brain doesn't know what's good for it. It just finds the easiest and the fastest way to load up on dopamine. And the reason why this is so important, the reason why, riders are standing on the podium rather than like, if they care about that, if they're standing on the podium, it's because they're able to get done what they need to get done. They need discipline to do that. And sometimes when you need to be disciplined and you have kids or you're running around back and forth or your kids get sick, we take ours to the YMCA and they like inevitably get sick 63% of the time. It's horrible. So when you have life getting in the way, you don't have room to be passive, okay? So if you're passive and you're getting your dopamine from bad food or not enough exercise or just wasting time, what you're going to do is you're going to train your brain to go and find more of the same thing. It's like, great, easy, let's do it. So if you find yourself scrolling for an hour or two a day, sure, I mean, you could replace it with practicing on your mountain bike, but even more important than that, if you're a parent, you do not have the bandwidth to tell your spouse, hey, I just sat here for 3.5 hours scrolling through social media. The kids are crying. Dinner is not done. The house isn't clean. I'm going to go ride. Like, be prepared to get beat by your spouse if that's how you want to approach things. So that's why it's important. It's because it gives you the bandwidth to go do great things on the bike and to have that focus. Does that make sense, everyone? So find dopamine by practicing on your bike or by moving daily. I'll go into that a little bit later. Moving daily, even if you just go on a walk, it reduces cortisol, it increases your ability to deal with stress, it helps you think more clearly, and it basically opens you up to being a better athlete, which mountain biking is athletics first, right? If you literally can't even have the energy or the focus to do basic things like get up and clean the house or get up and walk around or manage your employees or whatever, then how in the world do you expect to be excellent at going 35 miles an hour down a trail and not hit a tree? Like, come on. So I get this one. This one can sound a little bit like we're above social media. That's not my intention. It's just that, man, it is really easy to get dopamine from sitting there and scrolling. I'm not above it. You're not above it. Go do something else. Let's go on to number 3. And again, if you like this, smash that like button. Crush it. Shred it. Shroud it. Number 3 is, let's see if I can do the fancy. No, come on. I really want this thing to move with my fingers. / I don't mind a little suspense. Why is it? Okay. We'll just hit the plus button. It's less fun that way. Number 3. Active warm-up. This one is incredibly important. If you do passive stretching and that's it before a ride, you're doing it wrong. I did a whole entire video on this. Go back in my history under my videos. Check it out there. It's under the YouTube channel. Don't just do passive stretching. The problem is that you think it'll warm you up when it doesn't. In some cases, it can potentially cause injury if you do it wrong. And it really doesn't give you the benefit of waking up the neuromuscular connection between the brain, the bike, and the body. Okay? And when we have limited time to ride as parents, when we have limited time to get out there and do our best, why sell yourself short with something as lame as passive stretching? Passive stretching, by the way, that's where you go like this and you hold something in a position for 10, 15 seconds. Or you just kind of swing your arms around or swing your legs around. That's not really getting your body active. Again, go watch my video on the channel about how to properly warm up before each and every ride. I go and I actually give examples of what to do and how to do it. It'll massively impact your riding. Just trust me on this. Now, the benefit of doing active stretching, like I said, is the neuromuscular connection. It automatically creates that without you even having to try. Plus, it gives you the benefit of actually repeating moves that you're about to do on the bike. Okay, so it like preloads your moves. Okay, so in other words, you don't go abruptly from sitting at a desk or sitting in a car to shredding. Instead, What it does is it introduces your body to the moves that you need to be doing on the bike slowly, warms it up, gets it primed for those moves, okay? That is why active warm-up is so important. Make sure you do it. Number four. This one is a question I get asked a lot by people in the Athlete Accelerator, which is the program where I work with riders on helping them ride like a kid again. And they say, well, I don't want to eat right before a ride, or how do I eat before a ride? I'm just going to give you the simplest version here. Number 4 is simply carb up and hydrate at the right time. Okay? So I don't know about you guys, but if I eat like a really, 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 really big burrito right before I go ride, it kind of doesn't feel good. It's a little bit uncomfortable. I feel like all of the blood is rushing into my stomach to digest all the food. It's just not good. So what I've found, it's a very simple approach. Just eat a double dose of carbs. It's like take a regular dinner of what you would eat. And if you are going to make yourself one potato, normally just make 2 potatoes and eat them both the night before. Okay? So if you have a big ride the day after, so on like a Wednesday, on Tuesday, double up your carbs at night. It'll help. And also hydrate at the right time. Hydrating at the right time, I start drinking water 3 to 5 hours before my ride. Now, if I go ride first thing in the morning, I'll just drink some water as soon as I get up and make sure that I've got enough extra in me. If you try to hydrate like at the time you start riding and you start out dehydrated, you're going to be 2 to 3 hours behind, and everything in your performance is going to drop. Every cell in your body needs to be hydrated in order for you to perform. And so if you go into a mountain bike ride and you ask your body to do incredible things at high speed, you will underperform flat out. So do not skip this one. Make sure you're hydrating 3 to 5 hours at least before a ride, if not the night before, and make sure you're doubling up your carbs the night before. All right. Now on to the 5th one. If you like this so far, while I'm fiddling with my page here, hit the like, share this with someone who you think it would be useful for. It's what we're doing here. We're on a mission to help mountain bikers ride like a kid again. So don't be stingy. Sharing is caring, or whatever. I always thought that was a silly phrase. Anyways, think of a buddy that you ride with and be like, you know what? I wonder if this will help them. Send it over to them. There's a share button down below. It's like a link thingy. Number five. Sleep. Okay. I could go on and on about getting adequate sleep. I cannot stress to you how important sleeping is for your performance. It is the number one thing that will impact every area of your life. Not even just the riding. Because here's the thing, if we ride well, we get confident, maybe make a few extra bucks at work, or we are proud of the thing that was once a hobby, now it's something that's a way in to be proud of who we are, or whatever. This is the single most powerful way to potentially double everything you're doing in life in terms of performance, in terms of how you feel about it. And I could go on and on about why this is important. And if you want to go deep into this, I think it's Dr. Andrew Huberman has a really sweet podcast covering this topic. I think that's his name. I just got introduced to him last week. The number one thing is sleep. Now, this is going to sound boring, and this is going to sound like, yeah, Dave, but what I want you to do is pay super close attention to how to get great sleep. And it's very simple. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. The closer you can get to this, the more you will optimize your sleep for a couple reasons. One, circadian rhythms. If you don't do this, the problem is that your circadian rhythms never guide your sleep, and you're going to bed when you're not ready for it, or you've been staring at lights all the time, or you're waking up when you haven't fully gotten rested, and you'll never, ever, ever achieve optimal sleep. Ultimately, what this does for you is it lowers your ability to recover, increases your chances of injury, and it feels like garbage. I used to have the worst sleep habits when I was in high school, of all times, and I would get sometimes 4, 5, or 6 hours of sleep at night. Guys, that is what people used to do to torture folks, is they would sleep deprive them. I was literally tortured every single day because I wouldn't sleep. And of course, my grades suffered, and my relationships suffered, everything suffered. Don't do it. So number 1, your circadian rhythms, they're supposed to work for you, not against you. Number 2 is that your risk of injury is much higher, not even because your body isn't recovered, but because you're more likely to make a mistake in judgment or a mistake on the trail, okay? From mistakes. So avoid mistakes by getting good sleep. And I get it, this kind of sounds boring, but do it anyway. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day, all days of the week. It will radically change your performance on the bike. Let me dive a little bit deeper into optimizing sleep. There's a couple other tips that I found work really well for me. If you do use any kind of melatonin, taking it 2 to 3 hours before bedtime can really help. And with sleep, what I've found for me personally is that how I wake up in the morning and eat. So early breakfast. I'm not really big on fasting because I don't need to do it. Probably will test it out. But early big breakfast, high fat, high protein, just big old breakfast helps me start the day right, and then I'm tired more likely at the end of the day. Another one too is eliminating lights 2 hours before bed. Y'all probably can't read my handwriting there, sorry. If you struggle going to bed at night, cut off lights 2 hours before bedtime. There are very few of you who actually need to be in front of a screen late at night, unless you are, burning the midnight oil, starting a business on the side like I've been known to do. Do not do this. Just turn off the screens 2 hours before bed, go read a book. You'll feel way better the next day. Another thing too about sleep is, neglecting your sleep is kind of like prolonging it's basically, I've heard it said that it's kind of like prolonging today's problems until tomorrow. Get sleep. Your brain will solve problems for you at night. I don't really have much else to say about this. Get some sleep. These are the 5 things. If you like this, if it's helpful to you, go ahead and hit the like button down at the bottom. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.